What's up guys, Justin here with the CGEssentials.com, back with another Blender rendering tutorial for you. So in today's video we're going to continue our series on creating renderings inside of Blender. So up to this point we've talked about how to set up our lighting and get everything kind of ready to go. So in today's video I wanted to talk about your export settings and how you can actually render your image and save it so that you have the image on your computer. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Alright, so what I thought that I'd do is I'd walk you through some of the settings that you can use in order to adjust what happens when you create your render inside of Blender. So we are not going to get ultra detailed on this, but I'm going to talk through some of the common things that you're going to see and how they can affect the way that your image looks. So we're still using the coffee cart model that we downloaded from 3dmodelhaven.com. I will link to that in the notes down below. The lighting was set up in a previous video, so we're not going to worry too much about that. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how you're going to export your image and kind of the difference if you select cycles or if you select Eevee. So if you remember, cycles is the actual path tracing engine, so the engine that actually traces the paths of the light inside of your rendering engine. So that one is the one that takes a little bit longer. You sometimes get this kind of like noisy image, but it's much more realistic when it comes to your actual lighting. You can go into your render properties and you can set this to render with Eevee as well, and you can see how Eevee is much faster, but along with being much faster, your shadows are being more approximated, and so you're not getting as realistic of a result. And so you can switch between those by going to your render properties right here. And so when you do this, it's going to affect the result that you're going to get. So the way that you're going to export your renderings is you're going to go up to the render function, you're going to click on the button for render image. And so when you do that, it's going to pop up the actual rendered image that you have right here. And notice that my camera is not centered on this object. So I'm going to hit the 0 key to go into my camera, tap the N key and go into my view. I'm going to lock my camera to my view, and I'm just going to move this over so this is centered inside of my view. So you can see how I was able to reset that camera really quickly. But if we have Eevee selected and we click on render image, you can see how this is going to pop up really fast. Right, it's going to create your image really fast, and it's going to look fairly good. So you have your shadows in here and everything like that, but it's not the best result that I've ever seen. So it's not a super good result. You can see how the lines for your shadows are a little bit they're a little bit more jagged, and you're just not really seeing that ultra realism factor. Where if you come in here and you select cycles in order to do this, you can see how this is coming in here and this is doing more calculations on your light. Well, if you click on render image, it's going to take a lot longer, right? So notice how the one for the image that we created with Eevee was pretty much instantaneous. While this one is taking a lot longer, it's going through and it's actually calculating all of the lighting, it's rendering this in tiles. I also have the denoising turned on. And so as it does this, you can see how we're getting more refined results. So our shadows are more realistic, the way that lights bounce off of objects are more realistic. So we're definitely getting a more realistic result when we use cycles. But you can see how the trade-off for that is this takes a lot longer. So the Eevee render was almost instantaneous. This one's looking like it's going to take about a minute in order to complete our final image. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can select either Eevee or cycles. Usually for all of my final renderings, I use cycles in order to actually create my renderings. So that's just something to be aware of as we're going through this. And so now let's talk a little bit about some of the changes you can make with the settings inside of your properties, your output properties, as well as your view layer properties. So I'm going to go through some of the ones that we're going to generally change. So a lot of these settings are going to be fine and you're not really going to need to make any adjustments to them. So learning which ones you do need to adjust can be pretty important and it can save you a lot of time. So the first thing I want to look at is I'm going to leave these as is, the display device and view transform. I'm not really going to do too much with those, but what I want to look at is I want to look at the options for your contrast. So a lot of the time this defaults to kind of a low contrast inside of your image. Well, you can see how with this set to a low contrast, it looks kind of washed out, right? Like the contrast between the lights and darks isn't very good. It's just not a very interesting image. So usually I go inside of my look and I adjust this up so that I have a higher contrast. contrast. Notice that when I have a higher contrast, things stand out a little bit more and it just gives you a little bit better image. You can also use the options in here for exposure in order to make this brighter or dimmer inside of your image. So for right now, I'm going to leave this at 0, just in the middle, but you can adjust the slider in order to adjust that. You can also adjust the gamma in here, which will also make things brighter or dimmer. So one thing that's important to understand is your sampling. So your sampling is going to adjust how long your rendering takes. So you can see how what this is doing is, if you look at this, we have our integrator set to path tracing. What that means is that this is tracing the paths of the light rays inside of our rendering. And you can see how if you mouse over these, you can see how many samples this is using. Well, the more samples you have in here, the more this is going to calculate out your light and where all your light bounces go. It's going to calculate like the number of bounces. However, it's also going to take way longer the more that you have in here, right? So as I rotate around, if I leave this at 32, this is going to come in here and it's going to re-render with my new camera location. And it's going to take a certain amount of time and then it's going to kind of stop. So it's not going to be working anymore. But if you were to turn this up, so if I was to adjust this to 128, this is going to work a lot longer, so it's going to spend more time continuing to calculate those light bounces, which is good in the sense that you get more light information in here, you get a more refined image, but it's bad in the sense that it's going to take longer. So this is going to keep working in here. That's going to be especially important when we talk about our rendering itself. So really simply, more samples equals less noise, but longer render time. So I'm not going to worry too much about light paths or really anything else down here at the moment. We're going to kind of leave the rest of this as is. We can talk about it, some of them more in a future video. But now I want to go over to your output properties. And so your output properties are going to affect the way that your image looks. And so what that means is this is where you're going to adjust the size of the image that you're going to create, as well as if we were exporting or rendering the number of frames that are in here, but also the kind of file that's being created. So for example, if you wanted to, you could click this drop down and there's other kinds of images that you can use this to create. So if you don't want to export a PNG, this is where you could come in here and you could set that you wanted to create like a JPEG or something like that. Usually I leave this on PNG, but there's other options in here as well. You can also adjust things like your compression in here, which I'm not really going to worry too much about this at the moment. But you can also set the folder where this is going to export. So for example, if you look in this folder, this has a number of individual images from when I exported an animation. So this is where we dictated that we wanted those files to go so that this could create our animation. So you can adjust where that goes in here. You can also adjust where you save your image from the actual render image option right here. So I'm not going to worry too much about the other options in here right now. Just note that you can set like the length and width of your images here. So for example, I could change this to like 1280 by 720. Well, notice when I do that, the aspect ratio of my camera is changing. So you can use this in order to set the size and also the aspect ratio of your camera. So if you want this to be more widescreen or more square, you can make the adjustment in here. So in this case, I had this set to 1080 by 1080 because I wanted this to be more of a square image that didn't have a whole lot of the extra background around it. So I use this in order to center this in my image. And so then the last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit about your view layer properties. All right, so inside of your view layer properties, what you can do is you can use this in order to create different passes and different kinds of data inside of your renderings. And so I don't want to get too far into this for right now. A lot of these are fairly advanced, but I do want to note that if you go into your passes section, you can turn on things like different layers for your shadow pass and your ambient occlusion. And basically what that'll do is that'll create a different layer with information about those things on it. So the ambient occlusion, for example, is going to give you an image file that you could combine with this in Photoshop in order to highlight your shadows a little bit more. But the one I really want to focus on is I want to focus on the very bottom. There's an option down here for denoising. And so what denoising is going to do is noise is basically these areas where you get these little dots in here. And so these little dots in here are basically areas where the light hasn't really been calculated, and so you get what's kind of a noise in there, so it doesn't know exactly what the what the image is going to look like in that area. And so it kind of approximates everything. So you can see how, like back here, for example, in this dark shadowy area, you get a little bit more noise. Well, if you leave this denoising off and you create this, and I'm going to turn off some of these passes as well, but if you leave the denoising off and then you create your rendering, it's going to render a lot faster because it's not going to go through here and find that noise and kind of hide it. But what you're going to get is you're going to get noise in the background a little bit more than you might have otherwise, or you're going to get noise in some of the like dimmer areas more than you might have otherwise. So pay attention in this area right here. Notice how you're getting some kind of dots back in here. You've got some noise back in here just because it's not calculating exactly what the light is doing in here, and so you get this kind of noise in your image, right? But notice that our rendering is going a lot faster because the denoising was turned off. So you can see how in this case this render only took like 36 seconds as opposed to the minute that it took us before. But if you look at it, you're getting noise in some of these darker areas. So what you can do is when you create your rendering, and I'm going to save a screenshot of this real quick. But if you were to go in here and turn denoising on, and then go up to your render and render your image, what this is going to do is this is going to go through and it's going to render it again, but it's going to do an extra, it's going to go back and it's going to apply a denoising algorithm to this, meaning what it's going to do is it's going to try to find that noise and remove it. So it's going to try to automatically fill in the blanks on that. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a bit better result, but it is going to take a little bit longer. But depending on what you need, you can use the denoising or not. It can make you have a much better result, but it can also make your render times a lot longer. So notice in this case, this looks like it's going to take about a minute, whereas before it was going to take about 36 seconds. So you can turn the denoising on and get a better result, but it will take longer. And so if I kind of zoom in on this and then I compare it to this image right here, notice how I have much less noise in this darker area than I did in this image right here. So it really makes a difference in your final result. But again, depending on how complex your image is, how long you want to take, it may or may not be worth doing this. And so you saw that I was able to create my rendering by going up to render and clicking on render image. I'm just going to click on view render because we've already done this. Once you've rendered out your image, what you can do is you can go up to view, image, and click on save or save as, and we can save our image in that way. So once you've created your image, you can go up here and you can do an image save, and we can just call this something like coffee cart exported. We can just click on save as image, and that's going to save this image file so that you can access it in another program. So that's where I'm going to end this video. What I wanted to do is just give you kind of an overview of the rendering settings and how you can export your rendering images. If there's something you'd like to get more into in particular, leave a comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new Blender content every week. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.